You raise an interesting debate or point, and a point of debate, which is, for me as an arranger, um, I've occasionally given talks on my process. And one of the things I always share is that for me, because you are really, at the end of the day, you're trying to honor the person who wrote the song, right? The
Right.
original songwriter. And so I always look for some of that raw material that really gives the song its original character and transpose that into whatever it is that I do. So, I do an arrangement of Coldplay's Yellow, and their version has this like pedaling kind of driving guitar. And it's through the whole song. And I thought, well, this is going to be a jazz piano trio playing this song. How do I do that? But and so I had this pedal point and I changed where it was in the piano, and it sounded almost a little bit like something Chopin wrote, the Raindrop Prelude. But that was my way of paying tribute to this kind of hooky driving guitar pedal. So
Right.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mick.
Yeah. But yet on the same token, I mean, I here's the thing, Scott,
Yeah.
to give you full credit too, is that "Got to Get You Into My Life" by the Beatles. The hook line with the horns is going da 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 da
Yeah.
da da.
Yeah.
That never happens in the Earth, Wind and Fire stuff.
Hmm.
I don't think that is ever enters their arrangement. They changed it
Interesting.
totally backwards, but it worked for some reason. It's like it was almost like its own song.
Do
Yeah.
you find when
So
you're do you find when you're doing arrangements of covers and all that too, that you find you're writing for a new audience to introduce them to this older music through a different versioning of it or imagining of it?
Are you asking me, Scott?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
No, I mean, my brain is in a million places right now because I was just thinking about, and maybe this ties in with your question, so for me, I was born in 1980, and I think of a song, an iconic song like I Will Always Love You.
Hmm.
And so for me, the quintessential version, and it was the only version to my ear, was Whitney Houston's.
yeah,
And
Mm.
then to
Yeah.
discover
Yeah.
retroactively, you know, um, or retrospectively, uh, Dolly Parton's version. It
Mhm.
was this amazing delight, and it just added a whole new layer to the song for me, and even brought kind of a new dimension to the way that Whitney did it. So, what was your question again to make sure I actually answered
Well,
it?
when you do a song like that, where you're going to
Yeah,
put your own spin to
yeah.
an existing piece, do you have in your mind that the audience that you're writing this for is actually a newer, younger audience that wasn't around when that original piece was done, so that you're trying to reintroduce it in your own flair, or
Well, I hate to date my audiences, but the truth is, as a jazz musician, a lot of my listeners are a little bit older,
hmm.
often a decade or two or even more older than I am. So, but I do think about, the music that I'm attracted to from kind of the more mainstream realm. And
Hmm.
and I would say that, like, what, for example, what we did with Coldplay's Yellow, that did seem to particularly strike a chord with some younger listeners. But I guess for me, it's not even so much about generation, it's more about genre. And for me as a jazz musician, it's or a musician with jazz foundations, it's exciting to kind of explore this space between jazz and something other. And I want to challenge my listeners, my audience, are in large part jazz fans,
Hmm.
to kind of delve into, other uh, corners of jazz or subgenres that stretch what the definition of jazz is.
Right.
well, yeah,
Um,
you become quite a conduit when you think of it, because because true, I it's terrible to say because it's not really true, and I know that in my heart. But jazz has a tendency to have an older listening audience.
yeah,
It's a more sophisticated style of music.
right.
Hmm.
And so if you can bridge a song like Yellow, which is something they'd never heard, or they if they did hear it, they might have turned the station, because they'd want to be listening to what they
Right.
want. So if you can take that song, put it into their realm, and all of a sudden, and now so the young kids are going, "Hey, this is cool," and they might listen to something that's more trad, and
Right.
then the older listeners would go, "Wow, this is cool. What song is this?" And the grandkids go, "Well, that's Coldplay, Grandpa."
Exactly.
And you know what I mean? So
Ah, Exactly. And by, I think you said this in a way, you're also bringing jazz, like a jazz interpretation of a pop song to listeners who probably wouldn't call themselves jazz fans. And they
Mhm.
unwittingly are becoming jazz fans, because you've given them something familiar to sink their teeth into. And I think
Mhm.
that that's critical because jazz, it used to be the pop music of its day. It was the party music,
Yeah.
and now, it's sort of developed this kind of stuffy reputation, but it's really not that at all. And it can even, I think, especially with institutionalized jazz, it can become kind of like alienating to the listener, to your average listener, right? Like if you're not in the in club and you don't understand all the sophisticated harmony, then you almost have no right to be here and people will feel excluded. And I have wanted so much to kind of crack things back open again and invite mainstream listeners back to the table, because jazz is meant to be enjoyed by anyone and everyone.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Check out our other vignettes and full episodes from a wide variety of guests for more great content. Please like, share, and subscribe, and become a member at SocialNRGPresents.com to access premium content and earn valuable energy points just for watching.